Hello, my name is Julie Nichols. I am an average Catholic layperson and serve as a private practice academic language therapist in secular society. I also hold specialized credentialing in autism spectrum disorders, cognition, dyslexia, and LGBTQIA inclusion in healthcare, which help me better serve children, youth, and young adults who fall within these areas. I am also an early onset Parkinson's disease patient and received advanced deep brain stimulation surgery in 2017. I thought about using a secondary source to create this video, just as many of my writings have appeared in secular sources. But this video is directly from me to the Catholic Church. Anyone is welcome to listen and ask questions. A dear friend of mine and her daughter named Renee and Sandra Boyes in the LGBTQ community helped me edit some of this script. As a professional, I provide individualized intervention plans for people who fall within my specialties. I also do some professional writing, speaking, and serving in religious trauma recovery. As the Catholic lead for the largest ecumenical religious trauma recovery ministry in the world called Free Hearts, I serve Catholic families who are experiencing and escaping religious trauma, such as attempted suicide. I will also finish a lay certification for the Catholic Archdiocese of San Antonio in May. Because of my work and parental experiences, I have published a number of articles in various private Catholic, secular medical, and secular educational sources such as New Ways, Outreach, Pathos, Jazzed Healthcare, and Zype Education. I am a biweekly writer for Pathos Catholic as well. My husband Grant and I of almost 28 years have 4 young adult children who are the inspiration for my work and service to individuals who fall within my professional specialties. Today, I'm going to speak of the life and human dignity issues of special populations and their families within the Catholic Church. I invite anyone to listen who is interested. There are a number of places where pastoral ministry in the Catholic Church does align with current science and practice, but there's a large number of places in which it does not. I hear lay Catholics and even lay leadership say, well, we don't have to align with science because we are the Catholic Church. For many individuals who fall on psychological spectrums, which are not like most of their peers, especially children and youth, it can be a matter of life and death to align pastoral ministry with current science. So the church may not have to legally align, but it's still about the sanctity of life, the dignity of the human person, and participation in family, church, and society, which are all Catholic social teachings. Pope Francis has also given authoritative direction in his encyclicals to provide proper pastoral care to individuals who fall within minority spectrums, while Jesus commands us to love our neighbor as ourselves. For people who value family, friends, love, charity, and life, and the well-being of all people, this video is for you. I base the content of this video from research and practice provided by the collective majority of major medical associations. 3 years ago, I discovered something I did not know. Many Catholic and other Christian families had been forced to leave their churches because their children came out gay or transgender. Through my work with Freed Hearts, I have met many families who left their churches because they had to choose between upholding their LGBTQ child's right to life or remaining in their faith communities. As a practitioner, my eyes started opening wide to the life issues of LGBTQ youth when I personally encountered those who were suicidal from their conservative Christian homes. Their suicidal ideations occurred at higher rates than their non-religious or progressive Christian peers. Gender dysphoric or transgender youth and their families have been under attack in Texas with threats from Child Protective Services wishing to charge the parents with child abuse for following their doctor's orders. Many parents of transgender children fled Texas as political refugees to protect their child's right for following what every major medical association in the world says to do. As a practitioner, I have worked with neurodiverse children in the disability community for many years. Because of that work, just as I understand that there are variances in neurology, psychology, and biology in a certain percentage of the population, there are likewise variances in gender and sexuality for a certain percentage of the population. This is science. The LGBTQ experience is actually 3 to 6 times higher in families with other neurodiversity, such as autism. This does not make anyone less of a person, but equally created in God's image. As a disability practitioner, I started to understand the depth of the LGBTQ life issues by making connections and bridges between the disability world and the LGBTQ spectrum of psychology. The LGBTQ spectrum is not a disability spectrum, but indeed a true spectrum of psychology, not a gay agenda or a personal choice, as those who don't know better claim over the medical consensus of professionals. Many neurological conditions are intrinsically fixed by the age of 18 and cannot be changed or altered. These conditions typically start showing signs in early childhood. In the same way, we need to be aware that this is also true for LGBTQ plus children. After many years of both the church, society, and even part of the medical community endangered the lives and well-being of LGBTQ people and their families, the vast majority of them now say to fully support the child's gender identity and sexual orientation. This support can be critical, for when one parent fully supports their LGBTQ child, the suicide rate dramatically drops. 25% of children who come out as gay or transgender are expelled from their own homes and religious communities. These children are much more prone to suicide and other harmful experiences, such as addiction, lasting psychological damage, and attempted suicide. The suicide rate for LGBTQ youth from conservative religious families is twice as high as it is for those from non-religious or more progressive religious homes and churches. Any effort to coerce or change an LGBTQ child's identity, such as through gay conversion therapy, reparative therapy, coerced celibacy, and or threats of eternal damnation, are deeply damaging and can sometimes cause irreversible damage and increase the risk of suicide. Fully accepting LGBTQ people can be difficult for some religious conservative parents, professionals, and ministers in particular, because religious people have to reconcile faith issues while being at peace with God and unconditionally loving, supporting, and including LGBTQ people and their families. The lives and the health and human dignity of LGBTQ people depend on at least one parent fully affirming and supporting them along with other professionals and ministers. That is why it is my faith that helps me place the sanctity of life, the dignity of the human person, and unconditional love above any doctrinal struggles I might have. This is also why many faith leaders are coming to affirming and accepting positions for LGBTQ people and their families. Years of poorly applied theology have been proven to harm disabled, neurodiverse, and LGBTQ people and their families. The largest sources of harm and causes of suicide to these populations are various forms of rejection and abuse from others, not other things. Rejection and abuse negatively affect LGBTQ youth and young adults, neurodiverse and disabled people, and their families for the rest of their lives. With the right love, support, and following science and doctor's orders, children, youth, and young adults like this can thrive. According to every major medical association in the world, when we look at the consequences of rejecting the neurodiverse, disabled, and or LGBTQ children from the family, church, and society, we find depression, anxiety, self-hatred, shame, self-harm, substance abuse, separation from family, people, community, isolation, anger, other serious mental illnesses, and even suicide. But when we teach that we love and accept neurodiverse, disabled, and LGBTQ people unconditionally, the fruits of our acceptance are health, healing, love, peace, joy, self-acceptance, stable relationships, reconciliation, and family unity. Fully accepting and including LGBTQ people and their families would be no different than fully accepting and including LGBTQ people with disabilities and or neurodiversity such as autism. Being LGBTQ is not a disability, but it is part of a spectrum intrinsic to being human. Unless you yourself are capable of lifelong celibacy, you are not qualified to expect this from someone else. Someone's sexuality is very personal and is between them and who they choose to tell, no one else. Most people, biologically, are incapable of a life of celibacy without incurring lasting psychological damage or even death. Now, specifically for Catholics, LGBTQ people need unconditional love and support, especially from other Christians, for their human dignity, the sanctity of their lives, and suicide prevention. Love and acceptance from other Christians is seen as love and acceptance from God. Christians rejecting or trying to change LGBTQ people are seen as rejection and abuse from God. Jesus and the Gospels were all about love, inclusivity, and defending the marginalized. I understand that doctrine is part of biblical and church teaching, discourse, and disagreement. But when we must theologically place the sanctity of life first, God would never want doctrine applied in such a way that harms and endangers the lives and well-being of others. Jesus came for the disenfranchised, the ones society rejected. If we claim Christ's name, we need to follow his command to love the Lord our God with all our mind, soul, and strength, and love our neighbor as ourselves. This means loving LGBTQ people, disabled people, and neurodiverse people unconditionally. And for the transgender person, using their preferred pronouns and names, including all of them, not excluding them. Just by doing these simple things will help reduce the suicide statistics dramatically. This is why I wear a free mom hug shirt to Pride events, to potentially save a life. Various forms of rejection don't just endanger the lives of these populations, they endanger the lives and human dignity of their entire family. Both science and personal experience in the home and religious trauma recovery have repeatedly proven that this is true. I want to give special recognition to Catholic leadership like Bishop Robert Stowe for not only reconciling, but holding a service of penance for the wrongdoing the Catholic Church has done to LGBTQ people and their families. I have also reconciled because I have not always been affirming myself. Overall, the Church must move to reconcile with these populations and provide safe and affirming pastoral ministry that aligns with current science for minority populations. Anything else will continue to endanger and disrupt the lives of LGBTQ, disabled, and neurodiverse people and their families. And I will close with this quote from the Hogg Foundation, which is in alignment with every major medical association. The Hogg Foundation for Mental Health states that every word and action of love, affirmation, and acceptance can be the difference between life and death for LGBTQ people.